Okay, so I've been kind of following this story because it was a story that popped up in regards to prison and the bullshit about prison, and then throwing in these sociopaths of people that who are in there for more non-violent criminal things. And so this case here is pretty bad. Okay, so it's a suspect in rape and murder of a 22-year-old inmate had a history of sexual violence. So they already knew this when he got thrown in prison. And this guy was like literally just about to get out. Like I think it was like a week prior. So here's what happened now that they have more information on this one. Okay, so the murder of Daniel Williams. So just weeks before his release from prison on a property theft charge, that's all he was in there for, okay? Sparked an international outrage, as it should. Um, Technically, do you think that somebody that did property theft, like just something of that nature, should be mixed in with a bunch of rapists, violent criminals? Just generally, you know? No. But this is what's been going on. So then Williams was reportedly drugged. He got drugged into prison, okay? Okay, hogtied and raped, and the 22-year-old died in October while serving a 1 year sentence. Okay, he gets more time than most rapists anyway. So I just this entire thing. So the suspect in his murder had a history of assault in multiple prisons. So he was already well known for being this individual that would be harmful to anyone, right? Carla Crowder with Alabama Appleseed Center for Law and Justice said state documents reveal 9 reports of the inmate sexually assaulting other incarcerated men over a 5 year period. So he's a serial rapist. So that's an additional crime, right? I mean, did he get more time for being a sexual offender? And you would not want to put a sexual offender with anybody else. So they're as much as a danger to women as they are other men. So it's not, it's the mindset, okay? Yet the Department of Corrections failed to take disciplinary measures that would have kept the inmates segregated from others. Yeah. And so they knew. So it's not even a thing like, we had no idea. Okay, so an attorney for another inmate said his client at Staten Prison was also drugged, hogtied, and raped by the same man. 6 weeks later, the assault on Williams happened. Alabama Appleseed claims Williams was found in a dorm he was not assigned to in the bed of a suspected killer. The nonprofit questions why mandatory headcounts did not reveal Williams was not in his assigned dorm. I mean, I've never been in there, so I don't even understand how, they're able to even do that at any point. But okay, as recently as October 2023, the suspect was given perfect scores in the category of history of institutional violence that allowed the inmate to stay in a medium security prison in an open bay dorm at Staten. Crowder said the inmate should have been in a higher security facility where he could not prey on vulnerable individuals. Many rapists should be in a high security facility. So mostly a serial rapist here. I mean, but aren't they all? But just that generally. So yeah, history of institutional violence. Perfect scores. How do you get perfect scores? Did he rape the person to get the scores? Like, I don't know, Like, he seemingly had free reign to assault additional incarcerated people, said Crowder in a written letter to the State Prison Oversight Committee prior to Williams' death while he was on life support. Crowder explains the suspect's classification was still not changed. Wow. All the cover-ups, you guys, it's insane. According to ADOC documents, the inmate over an 18-month period had been caught selling drugs. I mean, how you sell? You know what I mean? It's like this thing. It's like, why is he even there? Selling drugs, threatening someone with violence, placing a hit on another inmate, sexually assaulting an inmate at Donaldson's, and raping an inmate at Fountain. High security all the way. Like, That's what I'm saying. It's like he's like, well, number one, this guy's not fixable, okay? He's just not fixable. And God forbid he ever gets out. Like, they're not even given that information. I'm like, yeah, no. Then they're not like rehabilitating him, but I think they get into a thing about this. So then it's like, to date, no charges have been filed in Daniel Williams' death. This information comes as members of Legislative Prison Oversight Committee heard from multiple families Wednesday in Montgomery who detailed horror stories of their sons, nephews, and fathers brutally attacked, raped, and killed in Alabama's prisons, right? Okay, then they go, and I'm sure this is everywhere. I mean, it's highlighted because of this case where it's like the guy was literally about to get out for something that was more minor in comparison to, and so it says, all said they understood someone paying a price for a crime, but they should not pay with their life. Edward Friend called the prison a moral outrage. Hey, but the Christians made this. In fact, they promote the conduct that, they're going to meet Bubba in there, right? Because that was a common, you know, promotion of this conduct. But not everybody that's in prison is in trouble for the things that people are thinking of here. Um, Crowder says the mortality rate in Alabama prisons is 5 times the national average. She called Williams' death totally preventable and unconscionable neglect. Yes. So then critics say much of the recent violence in prison is fueled by the near halt to paroles. I don't know, with inmates giving up hope. Okay, so they're giving up hope, having no incentive to follow the rules and rehabilitate. Well, they also put them all together. When you put a group of socios together, it's just like a new crime organization, basically. I mean, that's their brain. So since we're on this topic, that's kind of where that goes. So the environmental factors, right? So if there's more abuse on top of the abuse, then, forget it. So, Rep. Chris England has pre-filled a bill to have a committee oversee the Board of Pardons and Parole. Earlier in the day, Wednesday, families held a rally on the steps of the Capitol. One man whose nephew was murdered over a drug debt said Alabama should be ashamed and call on Governor Kay Ivey to take action. A mother told how her son spent 7 days on life support before he died. She was not allowed to see him. Yeah, that was pretty horrific. Like, they didn't, nothing. And then they lied to them as well. I think they said that, I forgot what the excuse was. They gave a different story to them, and then they found out the truth of the story. And it says many said their loved ones struggled with drug addictions and were not violent. That's why I said, I go that there's a group of them that are total sociopaths, and then there's people that have drug addictions and they might have stole like the story that they just said is like a theft to like if you looked at a drug addict there, you would go, oh, a theft to fuel their drug addiction, right? It's not a case like in the Ola Ray one, right, where it's like we're gonna go human traffic some kids and start a bigger network, and you know what I mean. There's a whole different thing there. um but those guys, it's hard for me to argue this because on some of these cases, because those people did not get in trouble for what they should have gotten in trouble for, right? So I would have to sit down with, certain people to know what the difference is with these people. But yeah, in our case, in the whole thing, they never got in trouble for human trafficking, raping kids, and all that stuff. No, they didn't. And for grand theft for, from children, and trying to network out a whole other thing there. So that wasn't just, oh, drug addiction, sociopath. So yeah, but there is a difference in somebody, because it could be like he had a childhood of his parents sexually abusing him, and then he started doing drugs and he ran away. I mean, it could be something like that, and then it's not like they're out raping the town and stuff, and then they go and do some theft or something, steal a car, some garbage. and then get thrown in here for like a year. They're literally getting more time than actual rapists. Like it's pissing me off. People are coming out 10 times worse than when they went in, remarked attorney Lauren Farino. Yes, so that's why we're talking about the PD because, first of all, there's no cure for it. But it could also be because of the environmental thing of them, how nobody's getting, well, number one, nobody's getting held accountable, okay? And then two, when they are being held accountable, they throw them in this system like this and it's not even the environment is so bad that it's not really possible. It's like throwing an alcoholic in a bar. You're like, okay, we're gonna have you like serve drinks now, and you can't drink. It's like, yeah, that's really gonna do something. So they're doing that. And they know they're gonna put him back out, right? So then they're not even fixed, right? They only care about time frames, right? They're like, you got 20 years. It's like they don't even care what the hell's going on in their brain, really. And they're like, unless they're for like parole and trying to do this like sob story, like they put up a show, right? So if they play the show good enough, then they throw him out, right? They sat there and said this guy was totally fine, he's the nonviolent model citizen, yeah, so then the environment is not proper to have any sort of effect to even try to rehabilitate these guys. So it's kind of like, forget it. So then they let him out and then they go commit another crime. Now, there was another crime that happened the other day where a guy just like strolled down a street, probably followed a kid, broke into their house, stayed in there for hours, raped the kid, and then took off. He looks like a felon to me. And if it was California, that would make sense because California just lets them all out. So, and then they do this and then they try to kind of cover it up. It's like, we didn't really consider, rape a violent crime. Like they're doing this crap. So it's not just limited to here, but, when they're going by statistics, so, these prisons and stuff, which I haven't really followed along with, I just know that, this has been kind of an ongoing thing. I just haven't said much about it. I'm just kind of like monitoring it. But this was a pretty bad case. So, and it went along with the topic. So I was like, yeah, I mean, you can't expect something different to come out of an environment like that. So the way that the prison system was set up anyway, like nobody should be going in there feeling like, oh, now I'm going to fear for my life. I'm going to get raped and I'm going to get killed. Like that actually shouldn't be going on because it's telling you that the environment is bad. So the last thing you want to do is throw a bunch of socios in a worse condition. That's just what's going on because they became that way because of the initial, upbringing, right? There was some things there and they weren't, rescued out of it or whatever the case may be there. And then you do that. So yeah, I mean, there may be a reasonable explanation as to why it hasn't been like it can't be corrected or it's seemingly not being corrected just because it's not being tackled properly. And like I said, it's like by the time you see it, it's like stage 4 cancer. And at that point, as of now, there's not a cure, but it could just be because it's being tackled improperly and not at all. It could be that. And we're seeing the areas where like it's definitely not, you wouldn't expect anything good coming out of it. So yeah, there's no way to really gauge like, is it because you threw them back into this environment and then it just enabled them even more. They don't have an inner compass to care, right? So they're basically pointing that out. It's like, So I just thought I'd bring it up. So if you guys weren't aware of this case, so yeah, there's a big thing on it. And I think it's really like the reform and everything, how it's never been good. And then plus they throw innocent people in there too. And so that's an extra trauma on top of something, mostly for something they didn't commit, like they didn't commit those crimes. So, you know, the whole purpose really should just be they're a danger to the public, or they did something that, they need to go serve some time for. And then at that point, they need to be rehabilitated, or at least an attempt to. and try to work out, whatever issues going on here, and definitely not becoming drug dealers and meeting up with their gangbanger pals and the shit that's been going on. That actually, no, because then all it does is enable that, and then they go in and out and they help each other, and then it's just a nightmare, right? It's been a nightmare. So, no, the whole concept of that has been really bad. And then an example on that drug addiction thing. No, Robert Downey Jr. is a total sociopath. Okay. He came out, even though he's not doing drugs now, he came out like minimizing violent behavior that men do on women. So no, there's a problem with that area right there. That's why I said he wasn't busted for like raping some, beating up some women, but I don't know what the hell he did in his whole life there, okay? But he did get in trouble for breaking into a house and drugging out and passing out or whatever on someone's bed. No, it's his what he's saying. So he has no issues with women getting beat up and will justify minimizing that because someone's his friend that gave him a job. Yeah, no, that's a sociopath. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're in there just with drug addictions. I'm like, no, that dude's a socio, like big time. So yeah, he's not right in the head as far as that goes. Yeah, but I'm sure some things happened to him in prison which you don't want to talk about. But do you think he, deserves any of that? I mean, no. I mean, again, it makes him even worse because he comes out, he's like, yeah, violence. What's a little violence, on some women? Yeah, that was my example of that. Yeah, he wasn't in there because he raped some women, but he certainly is easily to pass off violence on other people, mostly females. He doesn't talk very highly of them, and he likes to mock them. So no, he's not cured of his little head problem there, and that matters. Yes, it does.